Welcome, everyone, to the Man in Search of Gold podcast. I'm your host, Eric Mangold, and I'm the founder of Argosy Wealth Management. This is the show where we share ideas, strategies, and history to help you improve your life one financial move at a time. Let's get started. Okay, and we are live.
Great.
Well, pre-recorded for episode 5, Man in Search of Gold podcast. I am super excited today because our guest is Leigha Barbieri. Why I'm super excited is because we talked about Leigha and I have been communicating over email for, I want to say 2 months-ish.
At least.
Something like that. So, and I can't wait to get into the story, but Leigha's been traveling the world on sabbatical from when she was in medicine. And it's and I see the post on LinkedIn of where Leigha is. It was Indonesia, and now it's Australia, and I'm sure I'm missing places, right? But so today I'm really excited to have Leigha Barbieri on and for her to share her story. So welcome, Leigha.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So I started out, where did you grow up? What was childhood like?
So I grew up at the Jersey Shore, best place on earth.
Mm-hmm.
I actually didn't realize you were from New Jersey. We just learned that a few minutes ago.
I was an Avalon kid and then
Okay.
Long Beach Island kid. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, so I grew up in New Jersey, and I guess the beach was always like a big part of my life. So a lot of this travel has been along the coast of every country we go to. But yeah, my childhood was really nice. My parents did a great job giving us the things that we wanted, but teaching us how to appreciate those things, I guess you can say. My dad tried to teach me about money, but I didn't want to listen.
What did he do?
We're going to get into money. He was in software sales. So a long time he worked for PeopleSoft in the 90s and companies like that. And yeah, he did well. So we were really lucky to grow up in a nice home and have a good education. And soccer was basically my whole life. So I dedicated a lot of my life to soccer. I didn't end up playing in college. Long story, but
how come?
Still, I think honestly, I had just kind of told myself that I was only going to play D1.
Okay.
And when the schools that contacted me that were D1, I didn't really want to go there. I think I was really tired. I had been going nonstop all year long, practicing every day for, I don't even know, since I was a kid.
It's a grind.
And I think I said, I'm going to play D1 or I'm not going to play. I don't know. I had this weird thought process, and I think I was just tired. And I guess maybe I was burned out from soccer too. I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah. And I made a last minute decision to go to College of Charleston, planned to walk onto the team there, then realized I didn't like College of Charleston. And I transferred to Fordham. By the time I got to Fordham, I was pre-med, and I just had so much on my plate. I was a Spanish minor as well. So at Fordham, you also have a very large curriculum. They force you to take, I think it might be the biggest in the country, meaning you have to take 2 philosophy, 2 sociology, 2 theology courses each year. So I felt I didn't have time for sports at that point, and I was just really focused on, getting into eventually PA school. At first it was med school. I switched to PA school.
So when you went to College of Charleston, were you pre-med there?
Yeah. Technically, yeah.
So in high school, you were medicine. That was your track.
I decided I wanted to be a doctor in 3rd grade.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it from watching a show, or what did it mean?
I've in talking to people on my podcast, I think I've realized that I spent some time in a hospital when I was younger. I used to just pass out, and nobody really knew why. And I'm wondering if that played a role in it, because all my memories from the doctors and the hospitals were all very good. And I think I always I was interested in the body and fixing things. And yeah, I don't know. I just remember in 3rd grade, I told my mom I wanted to be an obstetrician, and she was like, okay. And I just stuck with it. Yeah. Yeah.
So now College of Charleston, but pre-med goes from College of Charleston to Fordham.
Yeah.
Okay. And then at what point do you say, what helped you decide physician assistant or doctor? Like, what was that decision-making process? What's that look like? So you're in Fordham, you're pre-med in Fordham, thinking physician assistant,
Yeah.
or doctor. How does that decision-making process evolve?
So I learned about what a physician assistant was probably in my sophomore or junior year of college.
Okay.
My mom actually found out what it was and told me. And it just sounded, I don't know, it sounded like it may fit into my life better. It was very, I like the versatility of it. And
How so?
uh, because as a PA, I don't have to specialize really. I can just kind of change specialties whenever I want.
Okay. Is that
And I
common for PAs?
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, for me, I ended up in orthopedics, something I just like fell in love with in school, and I stuck with it. So, and I probably won't go back to anything else because I love it, but I just liked having that option. And, I'm going to say the thing that nobody is supposed to say. I didn't want to go through all of med school and all of residency. I was kind of ready to get my hands dirty and like get into the field quickly and honestly
Yeah.
start making money because I had already taken out so many loans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Fordham, and then it's what, master's degree for physician assistant?
yeah. So I graduated with my degree in biology, minor in Spanish, and then basically went straight to PA school and it's a master's. It was a 2-year program, but all the way through. So you don't get breaks or anything.
Okay. And then where did you do that?
Pace
At Pace.
in
Okay.
New York City. Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, do you have a residency period as well?
Uh,
So what's
there are residencies for PAs. They're not very popular, but you can do them. They're not really necessary because, as a PA, our role is really, I guess, like an adjunct kind of role. So when you get a new job, they're supposed to train you for a while properly.
okay.
So it's not really necessary to do a residency, but I do have some friends who did residency and they loved it. And I
Okay.
think it does boost your resume, obviously.
Okay. And then how did the evolution go from master's program then to orthopedics? Was that right out of the gates that you went into orthopedics, or did that evolve
Yeah.
over time too?
Everyone that I asked told me don't specialize so quickly. But
But
I
you
say do what you love because I don't regret any of it. I had in my rotation at Lenox Hill Hospital, so I got to work with some amazing surgeons, including the man who would end up being my boss for 10 years eventually.
Okay.
So I met him at my rotation and I just had a great experience. I had a good experience with the PAs, the surgeons, the residents were really great there.
And that was
And
in
I loved
orthopedics.
And that was my orthopedic rotation, yeah. And
Okay.
it was very hands-on. I got to do the most out of really any rotation, and I just really liked that. I liked working with my hands.
When you're doing that, you're specializing in orthopedics, but like, some surgeons will specialize in shoulders or knees. Do you do
Yeah.
that type of specialization, or you'll do any body part?
So at first, I started my career at Hospital for Special Surgery, and I was what they call core PA, and
Okay.
basically just got thrown into every and any surgery that they needed me in. So I
Okay.
was doing anywhere from, rotator cuff repair to a foot and ankle surgery to a hip or knee joint replacement and a spine the next day. Like it was
Wow.
all over the place, which was really fun because I got to find out like what I really actually loved,
Yeah.
which ended up being joint replacements. But I got to see everything and work with so many surgeons. I think at the time, I probably worked with almost every surgeon at HSS, and it was really cool.
I had my ankle done there, and that was 25
Yeah.
years ago, and never looked back after having
Wow.
some pretty bad ankle problems. So
That's
yeah,
great.
and my dad had his back done there. I mean, it's like
Oh,
this,
nice.
it's amazing that the care there. But okay,
Yeah.
so when you're in the operating room, isn't it's a big team, right? Like it's almost like you're getting the vibe of the surgeon too. So if you're going from operating room to operation, right? Like isn't
Mhm.
it kind of hard to get that vibe of the surgeon, or do you just learn it, like you just get it, you just know?
Yeah, no, you're hitting the nail on the head here because I would call myself a jack of all trades, master of none, because you're constantly being thrown into different types of surgeries, and while you're getting all this experience, you're not really getting very good at anything.
Hmm.
So that was why I eventually transitioned into private practice and chose my specialty within orthopedics, which was hip and knee replacements. And yeah, I was able to really like hone in my OR skills, my clinic skills once I became a private practice PA.
I always ask this question because it's fascinating for me. But the first time you're in the operating room, the first time you see, scalpel on skin, blood, is that exhilarating? Is it frightening? Is it, oh man, what did I get myself into? Or is it just like, this is exactly what I signed up for? What's that
It
feel? What is
depends
that
on the
feeling?
depends on the surgery. So
Okay.
okay, real quick story. I was
Yeah.
volunteering, getting my hours, building my resume for PA school basically at Jersey Shore Medical Center in the summer. And there was an orthopedic surgeon there who my dad grew up with. And so I knew who he was. And he was nice enough to like let me in the operating room for a couple of his surgeries. And the first surgery that I saw with him, he let me like put on the gown and everything. Like I was all sterile, and he let me go real close and see him do a full hip replacement. And I remember like running. I wanted to like run down the hall and click my heels after that because it was just the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And that's probably where I first really fell in love with orthopedics. I mean, my rotation in PA school was great, but yeah, that's definitely where I was like, oh, I like this. That was amazing. But
Okay.
then
Now, okay, go ahead,
yeah, go
please.
ahead. No. I
Well,
was just gonna yeah.
yeah, your
Go, go,
turn.
go. I was just gonna say I got to see a lot of other surgeries volunteering in the OR, and there were a few where I was just like, I don't like this. Like
Like
any
one. Yeah.
like an amputation,
Okay.
didn't love it. I got to see I think I saw like a mouth surgery for some reason, couldn't handle that.
Mm-hmm.
But sawing through bones, I don't know. Really cool.
And my understanding is hip is like, if a non-physician were to see a hip replacement, I would be shocked at how violent it is. Is that accurate?
Yes, but I would say maybe knees are more violent.
Are they?
Yeah.
Like a lot of saws and drills and hammers and
Yeah.
stuff that you wouldn't think
Yes.
is applicable for the
Screws.
human body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot more sawing in a knee replacement. It's like so normal to me.
I know, right? Okay, so 10 years at HSS ish.
So my first 2 years as a core PA, then I went and worked with Dr. Jose Rodriguez, who was still at Lenox Hill. So I actually left HSS, went to work with him at Lenox,
Okay, and what was his
and
specialty?
hip and knee replacement. Yeah,
Okay,
reconstruction. And he's who I met when I was doing my rotation at Lenox.
okay.
So job opened up. I jumped on it. He hired me. It was great. Then I went to Lenox and it was okay. Like it's hard. It's hard to go to any other hospital after you work at HSS because HSS is such a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
But met some amazing people and he ended up moving his practice to HSS 2 years later.
So then you went back to
So
HSS.
yeah, with him.
Okay,
Yeah. Yep, and I was with him for a total of 10 years. So
okay.
I did about 8 more years at HSF.
And then private practice after HSS.
Well, technically that was the private
That
practice
was a
role.
private practice. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So are we now in the phase of your life where you're starting to feel okay, let me take a step back.
Mhm.
Are you as a PA, and I say this out of just ignorance, I guess, are your hours as loony as like a surgeon's hours? Are you doing 50,
No.
60, 70-hour weeks? Okay.
No, they're not as crazy, but they can be. I guess it just depends on the role. There were
Okay.
times where I was working 60 hours,
Okay.
60, maybe more, 60-hour weeks. But then there were also times where I was working like 30-hour weeks. So it
Okay.
just depends on the week. If there's like a lack of coverage and I needed to do double my work, something like that. But yeah, it just depends. I think, though, in general, surgeons, especially residents, work a lot more than PAs usually work.
And can you describe, because again, coming from a place of ignorance where I've just read what the role is, but can you describe the primary functions of a physician assistant?
Yeah.
What is your role? Like when you get into the operating, what are you doing?
Okay. So again, it's gonna range because
Okay.
it depends. I think how much experience you have. If your boss or your collaborating physician has trust in you, lets you do things. So for me, I wanted to be very hands on and I had a great boss. So for me, what the OR looked like was I was first assist, which just means you basically stand next to the surgeon and you're assisting him, like either holding retractors, suctioning, maybe helping him perform parts of the surgery. And it's like a very much a team effort. And the other very important person at the OR table is the tech, the operating room tech.
Okay.
So they're usually on the other side of the table in my case, and they're making sure, the person at the back table has the right tools. They're kind of 1 or 2 or 5 steps ahead where they're grabbing the tools ahead of time and handing them to me or the surgeon. And so it's a very team oriented thing. You can't just, I think, walk in there as a surgeon by yourself and do surgery. It's like impossible for a joint replacement actually.
So it sounds like kind of like a chorus. Everybody's got a role to play and everybody almost
Yeah.
has to know what everybody else is going to do.
Yeah, it's a lot about predicting, but then,
Okay.
it's the steps are pretty much the same for the most part every time. So then after, you do your first like 50, you kind of just can do the steps in your sleep and
Mhm.
I know like when he picks up this tool, I need to have this tool ready cuz he's probably going to do that next or like just reading like the surgeon's body language even
Yep.
saying like, "Oh, he's not liking this. Maybe I should grab the next size up and see if he wants to try it," that kind of
I
a thing.
see.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But I was very hands-on in the
Okay.
OR.
And some PAs are not?
Yeah, I think it just depends on the surgeon and
Okay.
their preferences and their comfortability level. Like there are some surgeons at HSS who they want to do everything.
Okay.
I understand, but even down to like closing the incision. Whereas most surgeons, they're not even in the room for the closure. Like we're
Okay.
closing the incisions
Okay.
usually. But yeah, there are some that are just like, I want to do everything. This is my patient. I get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on a hip or a knee, how many people are in the operating room for a standard run of the mill knee replacement?
There's going to be at at a hospital like HSS that is very well staffed.
Hmm.
There's going to be at least 4 people at the operating table.
Okay.
Then that's plus the circulating nurse who's basically running the whole OR, but he or she is not scrubbed in. They're doing everything else. It's like probably the most important person in the room, honestly.
What do they do?
So they set up for the whole case, make sure you have every tool, material you need. They run through all the safety checks. Oh yeah, there's obviously also the anesthesiologist. Can't forget about them.
Yeah, important piece.
They work with anesthesia as well. Like if anesthesia needs something, the nurse will grab it. If the doctor needs something, the nurse will grab it. Yeah, they're basically just like constantly running around making sure everything is flowing smoothly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now, okay, so you're back at HSS with a
Mhm.
boss that you love, a guy,
Mhm.
a doctor that you love. You love
Yeah.
working with this guy.
Yeah.
When did you start feeling the initial phases of the burnout?
I would say it was right before the pandemic when
Okay.
I started feeling like how do I phrase this? It's hard to be at such a high volume practice and high volume hospital where like you're sometimes seeing 50 patients a day in the clinic
Wow.
and then the next day waking up and you're in the OR from 7 or 8 to sometimes like 9 or 10 p.m. And then in between there, I'm handling all of everything else basically that has to do with a patient. So, in between cases, sometimes I'm trying to call patients back or answer them in the portal, or I have to
Okay.
stay late and finish all of that stuff. So on a busy week, you're just there all day long. You're missing dinner. Like you're not for me going to the gym, working out, that's like my medicine. Those are my happy pills, right? So like
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you're not doing the things that you need to do to take care of yourself because the gym is closed by the time you get out of work and you can't wake up early enough the next day. And it turns into like a hard cycle to keep up with. So
So
that's probably where I was right before the pandemic.
your normal day, it doesn't sound like just any downtime. It's just full speed ahead the whole day.
When you're at work, when you're like in clinic or in the OR, there's almost no downtime unless a
Wow.
case gets canceled or delayed. And like, there's no lunch break.
You just grab and go.
We just eat as we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean that sounds like, I know obviously the more patients that are seen, obviously it's a revenue issue, but that also sounds like a culture issue too,
Totally a
because if
culture
they're just
issue.
right, just running your engine in the red all day.
And because everyone's doing the same thing. And it's like, "Oh, well, you work in medicine. Well, we don't take lunch breaks."
This is
Like,
just the way you
we
are.
can't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, the culture actually almost supports the negative cycle, right?
For sure. And that is, we can get to this later, but that is my main goal with teaching or mentoring other people to take time off, is to
Yeah.
break these stigmas, because they're not sustainable. And we know that. This isn't just an opinion. Like, statistics show that especially surgeons have very high rates of depression and even suicide.
Yeah.
Just in general, like, people working in healthcare, you tend to have higher rates of like depression, anxiety, things like that. So
Yeah.
something needs to change. And
Yeah.
hopefully I can, I don't know, somehow make a small dent in that.
Well, I think any help is going to be impactful. There was a movie, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago, that came out called Do No Harm,
Hmm.
and it was talking about physician suicide and how it's
Hmm.
like it's really swept under the rug.
Yeah, for sure.
And I went to a screening with a client who was a physician, and so many people were there saying, "Thank you for talking about this," because it's just not
Yeah.
talked about.
Yeah.
So, okay, so pandemic, you're starting to take one of your phrases, crispy around the edges. You're starting to feel it a little bit.
Yeah.
So now let me ask you, what happened with the pandemic? Were you kind of
So
off during that time, or?
yeah, so the pandemic gave me like the break I needed at that time. So I
Okay.
think I was getting to the point where I was like, okay, maybe we need to make a change. Pandemic happens. We're an elective surgery field, basically.
Mhm.
So our hospital got completely shut down, unless, with the exception of like emergency surgeries, which would be like infections or,
Yeah,
car accident,
car
trauma
accident. Yep.
surgery kind of things. But because HSS is connected to Cornell,
Mhm.
we became like an overflow COVID hospital. And a lot of people had to go in and just become basically like ICU doctors, which was crazy because we all work in orthopedics. But although I volunteered, I never got called in. So I was
Okay.
basically at home doing admin work for 2 months until we were allowed to start seeing patients again.
Okay.
And then from like, I think it was from March to September, I was on an every other week schedule. So one week I would work, the following week I wouldn't. And that was amazing.
Yeah.
I wish I could have that schedule forever. And I hate to say it was amazing, because it was a horrible time for healthcare and for many
Sure.
people and families. But yeah, I guess it just came at a time where I was like, this is kind of a nice work-life balance. And it slowed everything down, and it kept me at the job for sure.
Had the pandemic not happened, do you think you would have pulled the trigger on the sabbatical way earlier, or do you think you would have just tried to power through it and not be happy?
I think I probably would have made a change sooner.
Okay.
If I had to guess, maybe I would have tried a different either career path or something along those lines, because I still had a ton of debt to pay off.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the sabbatical became more of a reality after my loans were forgiven.
Okay. Okay. So, all right. So now pandemic is winding down. You're getting back to normal routines again,
Yeah.
and the amount of loans that you need to pay back are lowered. Okay. So
Hmm.
talk me through all that. What's happening then?
Okay. So again, I got pretty lucky there. So I came out of PA school with $260,000 of debt. 100,000 of that was private loans and 160 was government. I took a chance and I entered into the public service loan forgiveness program, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but
Mhm.
for people who don't know, you have to make 10 years of on-time full payments at an income-based rate. And then you're a candidate for forgiveness. And long story short, that worked out for me. I was very lucky. I think I applied for forgiveness at the right time politically, and it went through in July of 2023. July of
Okay.
2023, I had 170,000 because interest made my loans go up, even though I was paying $1,000 a month for 10 years. I had $170,000 of government loans forgiven, and in the meantime, I had paid off the 100,000 on my own.
Okay. Okay, so now 2023. Now, what's happening at work? Are you feeling a burn here?
Feeling like I need to make a change.
Okay.
And wasn't really sure what that was going to be. The burnout came back pretty full force around 2023, I'd say.
Yeah.
And because I had this like new kind of financial freedom, I started thinking to myself, like, well, I've never got a chance to study abroad, never
Mm-hmm.
got a break between college and PA school.
Mm-hmm.
This might be my time to do this, to like see the world that I've always wanted to do. And it took some convincing for my partner, but
Okay.
eventually I convinced him to do this with me. And yeah, I think I made the final decision around like April or May of 2024.
Okay. So take me back though.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about this, right? There's got to
Yeah.
be 1,000 questions going through. There's probably more questions than answers.
Yeah.
Are you talking? Who's your wingman? Like, who you talking to? And like, listen, is there anybody within medicine that you can talk to and be like, listen, I am feeling a burn here and doesn't feel healthy or happy. Like, you guys feel this. Is there the fear of, I don't want to divulge how I'm really feeling on the job because then people won't want to work with me, or
Yeah.
they'll
For
view
sure.
me as, yeah. Is that real?
Yeah. Totally real. But I worked with one of my best friends. So
Okay.
she was probably who I confided in the most. I think so. I think so, but we just have completely opposite personalities. So, I think she probably manages it a little differently, maybe even better than I did. I don't know. But she was who I definitely confided in. I haven't really talked about this portion of it much, but
Hmm.
I also have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. And I was diagnosed when I was 7. And I was seeing a therapist for OCD for the first time in my life. It took me until I was 30 something.
Okay.
And she said, Leah, why don't you take a break? And she was kind of the first person who like really put the break idea in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually took, I think it was like 6 weeks of FMLA
Okay.
technically for burnout, but also for my like OCD and all of that. And I kind of, this was hard for me. It took me probably a year to feel okay with this because I was so afraid of being judged for taking time off for mental health.
And
And I
again, we
was,
run into a culture issue.
yeah, for sure. And it's even hard for me to talk about now because
Yeah.
I kind of hide that part of it because I don't want people to, see me talking about it and say like, well, she's not a good candidate because she might do that again at our job. It was only a few weeks, and in that few weeks was when I really decided I needed more time. I was originally going to take like a FMLA of like 2 months or something and come back. And then I was like, oh, I think I need more time. And I decided to resign at that point. And then that's when we
On
made the
leave.
choice. Yeah.
Okay.
That's because I didn't want to keep my boss hanging either,
Sure.
and
Yep.
and as I took time off and I realized like this was still looming over me, I had to go back and I only had a few weeks and to like figure everything out. Then I decided to resign officially. And he he was great about it. The hospital was great about it. And yeah, I actually got to help him kind of pick a new person for my role, which was
Okay.
amazing. She's awesome.
Okay.
And it all went very well. It just the stigma of the whole mental health thing, like taking time off for mental health, is like still very much a thing, and I still feel a little uncomfortable about it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I know. I understand what you're saying, and I think that's really I think in general, people don't like talking about their mental
Yeah.
health, and because they think, okay, people are going to be judgy.
Yeah.
I hope there's like almost like the tide shifting with that, because I think more and more people are talking about it. And then
I think
frankly, I
so.
think the pandemic probably in a weird way probably helped that, because now you have so many of these telehealth type of programs
Mhm.
like BetterHealth, where
Mhm.
people can get access to some people. Sometimes you need to talk to somebody to sort some stuff out.
Yeah. Honestly, I never would have done that if my therapist didn't like push me towards it. And
Yeah,
then when I went and talked to my primary care doctor and told him like what she thought, he was like, "Yeah, you're burned out. Like, here you go,
they'll
3
do it.
months." And he just signed the paper. I was like, "Really?" Like, "Okay, I guess I'll do it." And it still felt weird, but I also had talked to some other employees, and they either had babies or needed to have surgery, and they didn't they didn't have like the PTO time to use. And
Mhm.
they all were like, Leigha, go take the time you need. Like you have the PTO time to take. Like I had a bunch of time saved up, so that wasn't an issue. So yeah, I took it, and then that's when I officially decided to resign and that I was going to travel instead.
Let me take a step back. So you
Yeah.
had a lot of PTO time banked up.
Yeah.
Was when your world, is it almost like you just don't take vacation? Or if you take
Right.
a day here, day there type of thing?
Okay, so no. Actually, HSS is great with vacation.
Okay.
They give you about 5 weeks plus, technically plus a week,
Okay.
and so I always took my vacation.
You did.
And they
Okay. Okay.
actually, yeah, they paid out the vacation that I hadn't used, that I had accrued, but sick time was separate. I had 4 months of sick time
Oh,
saved,
wow.
and there was no option for payout. And yeah,
Uh,
so even though I ended up taking, I did take a few weeks of it. I didn't take all of it. I
yeah.
probably left 7 weeks on the table
Okay.
when I left.
Okay. Okay. So now, all right.
Yeah.
Now the decision's been made. Okay. When you were making the decision to resign,
Yeah.
did you know your first step of travel?
I knew in the back of my mind that I definitely wanted to travel if I was going to resign,
Okay.
but we didn't really have anything planned until like the very last minute.
And this is
I
you and your
always,
partner.
yeah.
Now, what did he do at the time?
He's a personal trainer.
Okay. So
So
he had clients that he needed to tell too.
yeah, and
Okay.
they were all pretty great. So
Okay.
he still trains most of them virtually.
Oh, that's great. That's cool. Parents, what were their
They were all
thoughts?
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did anyone say and it's kind of great that this was the way that it evolved, but did anyone say,
Mhm.
"Hey, Leah, I think you're making a mistake"?
No,
That
the only real pushback I got was, I think, people who were a little like judgy and maybe jealous, but
Sure.
nobody said you're making a mistake. Everyone was so supportive. I mean, even down to like my team at work.
I mean, that's a really, really good sign that you were on the right path.
Yeah, and I think I'm really lucky to have had that team, and we were all very close, and I think they all understood because we all work in the same environment. And that most people said, "I wish I could do what you're doing."
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Fast forward now. You're resigned.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I'm not. What's the first step? Where are we going?
Yeah, so we're going to Spain.
Going to Spain. Okay. Okay.
That was originally the first step.
Okay.
So back when the thoughts of like taking time off, when I first got my loans forgiven and I was like, I'm free, I could take time off, but then I didn't. I stayed at work for another year, and then I got really burnt out and took the FMLA, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the original thought was I was going to move to Spain once I
Oh, full
decided to
time.
resign. Like I just wanted to be in Spain. Yeah.
Okay.
And
And you had the
then
minor in Spanish too.
exactly, yeah. And
Okay.
I had traveled there the year prior just for a short vacation, and I loved it. So
Mm-hmm.
that was the main goal to begin with. But then my partner and I kind of talked about it, and at the last second we like pulled an audible and went to the UK because we figured, let's see the world if we're going to do this. Like, you've resigned now, let's just go do it. And so we started in the UK, did the whole UK, then went to Spain, spent about 3 months in Spain and Portugal.
Okay.
Then we went down to, you want the whole thing?
I do. Yeah,
The
I
whole
do. I
travel?
could. Yeah.
So
And what
I
year is
did.
this? What year? This is 24.
This
We
is
doing
a
this?
year. Yeah, this was fall of 2024. So like
Fall
10
2024.
months ago about.
But no, wait.
Yeah.
So you're in the UK, right? And then, like, at some point, you're like, all right, Spain time. Like, what? How does that all?
We had a tentative plan. So, you
Okay.
can only stay 3 months in the UK at a time
With
with
the
a
visa.
visa.
Okay.
And you can only stay 3 months in the Schengen zone, which is like most European countries in that breadth of land there.
Okay. What breadth of land is that?
Okay, so the Schengen zone is like Portugal, Spain, France, Germany,
Okay.
most countries in between there. There's only a few countries not considered in the Schengen zone now, in Europe,
Okay.
separate from the UK, obviously, since Brexit.
Hmm?
Since Brexit, now you can do 3 months in the UK and 3 months in Europe. Yeah, so that was kind of our timeline situation, was just our visas. So we spent time vanning around the UK. We lived in a van most of the time.
Okay.
We did that for 6 weeks. I wanted to be in Spain for the good weather still. So then we got to Spain while it was still decently warm. And then did another van around Spain and Portugal for a couple weeks.
Same van, or
And
you
then
got a different van?
different van.
Okay.
Different van. And then we settled in San Sebastian for 2 months.
In Spain?
In Spain, yeah.
What's van living like?
It's fun, but it's also difficult. It's small. It's fun though because you can go anywhere and everywhere and you don't have to unpack and repack, and your stuff is just with you all the time, and you don't have to worry about, like, I don't know, you have a kitchen. I mean, we had a kitchen in our van, we had a bathroom in our van, so it was very like
Okay.
we could go anywhere and kind of, as long as it was legal, just like park at the beach, wake up, surf, go back to the van, make coffee.
Oh,
like,
are you guys big surfers?
Yeah.
Okay. So then, well, I guess the UK is not really known for surfing. Portugal is.
Yeah. So that was where we first started surfing, was in Portugal.
In Portugal? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Not at Nazaré, right?
No. I mean on this trip. We've been surfing both for like over 10 years. So we had our boards with us and everything. So the van was really conducive to surfing.
I have to ask, did you go to, is it Nazaré?
Nazaré.
Nazaré with those monster waves?
Yeah, we didn't catch it very big though. It was only like 15 feet that day, but usually it's like 60 feet when it's big.
That's on the bucket list. I totally wanted to go just watch.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Okay, so Spain, Portugal, and then what?
So after we kind of did a loop from Valencia all the way around bottom of Spain, up Portugal, around to San Sebastian, which is in the north. Stayed in San Sebastian for those 2 months because that's kind of where I want to live eventually. Yeah. And then we had to leave for our visa and we went to Morocco.
Okay.
Spent a month in Morocco.
Enjoy?
What was that?
What was Morocco like?
Beautiful. Also really like has a lot of issues.
Yeah. It's strict, right?
It's strict, but like in the Muslim Islamic way, like not. Yeah, I guess their laws are pretty strict. Mm-hmm. The issue was the waste management. They're having a big issue with that right now. So There's a lot of just garbage and plastic everywhere you go. And that was sad because it is such a beautiful, beautiful country. Mm-hmm. Also, you have that culture of like haggle culture, and I don't really love that. So yeah, I mean, there was some amazing places and then some places that I wouldn't go back to.
When you're on your travels, okay, so then you're in Morocco, then
after Morocco, we went to South Africa.
Okay. But now that's a flight.
Oh yeah, a big one.
So when you are at some point or at any point during your travels, because now you're sabbatical, you're full-time traveler. Mm-hmm. Well, your partner's still training his clients, I guess, right? But how are you financing everything? Are you worried about that? What's going through your mind from a financial perspective?
So I saved a bunch of money while basically during COVID and in the years after COVID. And a lot of it originally was to buy a house. And then when we looked at the housing market and saw how sad it was, we decided to just leave the country instead. No, but I decided to take some of that money and travel with it. And I will say I have spent double what I thought I was going to spend. So haven't been great with it. But luckily, I built up a pretty nice savings. So I'm still feeling okay about it. Just now starting to feel like, okay, time to make money again.
So so then Morocco, South Africa, and then you make your way over to Asia at some point, right?
Yeah. So, after South Africa, which was awesome, by the way.
Did you do safaris, shark diving, all that stuff?
No shark diving, but definitely safari. Highlight of my life. Coolest thing ever. Have you ever done a safari?
It's on my wife and I always talked about doing the safari before we had kids. Mm-hmm. And then we had kids, and then it was now it's in the back burner. So it's the second our youngest is out of college, it's we're going to take the speed jet over to South Africa to see a safari in. So it was as good as you thought.
Yeah, it was better. It was great. We actually volunteered with baby monkeys as well.
Did you really?
Yeah, I've always wanted to do this. It's just something I'm passionate about. So we got to do that. And then did safari.
What did you do with the monkeys?
So a lot of monkeys are orphaned when they're really young because either the farmers will shoot the mom.
Oh God.
Sounds awful. Or the moms will get hit by a car or whatever. the mother passes away and the babies are orphaned, and then they bring them to this sanctuary, and we basically help raise them until they're old enough to get a foster mom, which is just a female monkey who like literally takes on the baby like it's their own.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible.
They don't
And
reject the
then
baby.
no, like, well, they'll have the way it's set up is a few females will be able to kind of interact with the baby, and then usually one like claims the baby.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then they get let into the troop and they just live the rest of their life in that troop.
Released back into the wild or always in that conservation area?
They are always there. They are enclosed. I mean,
Okay.
they each have very large areas, but yeah, there is a fence. So
Okay.
for lots of reasons, but yeah, a lot of times if they go back into the wild, they won't survive. So
Okay.
but they do live in a proper troop. They just get
Okay.
fed by humans every day.
Not a bad way to go.
Yeah.
All right. So now what's next?
Then after that, I actually went home for a month
Okay.
to meet my new niece.
There you go.
And after that, I met my partner in New Zealand. After New Zealand, 2 months in New Zealand, we went to Indonesia. And then that's where we just were before we came to Australia.
Is it with a trip like this, is it
Mm.
hard to say you have a favorite place?
A little bit. Yeah, because everywhere you go, there's something you end up loving. But I will say probably South Africa blew me away, and New Zealand was pretty amazing.
All right. Well, let me ask it a different way. What was the best surfing?
Hmm.
Is that hard
My
too?
best my my best surfing was probably Spain, because we also lived right next to France, and so we could just like go right into France, and I had some awesome sessions in France.
Okay. Okay. I thought you were going to say I thought you were going to do the New Zealand or Indonesia when you said surfing. I wouldn't expect.
I know. Well, I should say Indonesia because that's why we went. It was like a full surf trip.
Okay.
But Indonesia ended very badly. We were actually on a boat that sunk. So I
Oh my
think
God.
yeah. Yeah. So I have a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth from Indonesia right now. But yes, the surfing that first 2 weeks in Indonesia was top notch. Like never saw anything like it. But I just, we were in Spain/France for a bit of a longer time, and it's just like I had a lot of good days there.
So a boat sinks in Indonesia? Like, are you guys, is it like close to the beach or is it?
No.
Like,
We were stranded in the ocean for a little over
what?
an hour.
How
We
many people
couldn't
were on
have
this boat?
There were 8 people on the boat. One of them was a 2-year-old child.
Oh God,
We
where
had
are you guys going now? Where was where was the boat going? Was it a ferry? Or was it?
it was just like a motorboat kind of
Okay.
from our homestay. So in Indonesia, most of the time in this one area, you stay in homestays, and there's all these little islands.
What's a homestay, Leah?
Basically just like an Airbnb, but like where it's owned by a family most of the time, and there are multiple rooms or multiple huts or houses or whatever, and they kind of like run the whole thing.
Yes. Okay, so now you're on 8 people are on this boat, including a 2-year-old kid. You and your partner.
Yeah.
You're going from a homestay to you're explaining the homestays.
Okay, so in Indonesia, there's a lot of homestays owned by a family. There's like this one in particular just was like beautiful. It had these little kind of huts that were on top of the water, and the water's the clearest you've ever seen with the craziest fish you've ever seen. And it was really cool. But anytime you want to go somewhere else, you have to take a boat.
Okay.
Yeah, you basically have to take a boat. So we were just going to visit another kind of like cluster of islands that are pretty famous, and it was all avoidable. The boat was just too small. There was too much weight in the back. The driver was obviously very inexperienced because there's just like no rules over there. Anything goes. And about an hour in to the ride, he stops the boat or the engine fails. I'm not really sure still. And the driver looks back, and I guess he saw like water in the back. And none of us could have seen that because it was kind of in this compartment like behind the seats.
Okay.
So nobody noticed and until it was too late. And
Oh my God.
we couldn't have been further from land. We were probably like 40-minute fast boat ride from the nearest land. And the boat, he went to get the water out of it. It tipped, more water came in. And then within like 10 seconds, the boat just like completely flipped over, completely capsized. And then we were all in the ocean with no life vests on because there's, like I said, there's just like no safety precautions over there. And that's partially our fault. But luckily I was sitting on top of the life vests and I was able to just like dish them out, like, because they were
Oh,
stuck
okay, okay.
actually under my seat. And so luckily I was able to like unstuck them and like dish them out to everyone. And there were, I think, 6 life vests for 7 adults and none for the
Perfect.
kid. So luckily the family had brought like a floaty thing for him. And so he
Okay.
was wearing that. But yeah, it
Oh
was
my God.
crazy.
And how long are you in the water? So now you're just in the water.
We're just in the middle of the ocean and floating and watching our boat sink. And the driver somehow held onto his phone and it was working and he was able to get a call out. And he called the owner of the homestay and they sent like boats for us. But it was pretty scary because
Yeah.
it was 2 hours from sunset,
Oh
and
my
it
God.
had been kind of like storming on and off that day. And yeah, we would just, a lot goes through our head, even though we knew somebody knew what had happened, so we were probably going to be saved, but still, you just start going into like survival mode. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
how long is it going to take for me to swim to that island? Who's coming with me? Like, I will say, everyone stayed super calm. Like, couldn't have been with a better group of people for this horrible thing to happen.
Yeah. Could you see any land anywhere, or you
Yeah,
just
so
saw
we
water?
could see the islands all around us. They were just
Okay.
far. So, worst comes to worst, we would have had to probably swim in the dark
Mm-hmm.
and hope we were going like in the right direction, hope there was
Yep.
a light on or something. But
Yep.
yeah, it was pretty nuts.
And how long were you in the water from
We were
when the?
floating for a little over an hour. So not too long, but
That's a story.
it's a long hour. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now I could see how there's a little bit of a sour taste.
Yeah, so we literally like left the next day, flew back to Bali, and I said, I think it's time we just get out of Indonesia, and we just booked a last minute flight to Australia.
Now, during this, so you've launched a course
Mm-hmm.
to help people navigate a sabbatical journey.
Yeah.
When did that start? Like, what country were you in? When did that, to like, you know what? Other people would find value. Other people will be helped if they had this guidance. When did this all start?
Yeah. I started getting the idea in South Africa. I
Okay.
took an online course on something called guest posting. Honestly, don't even know why I took this course, but I was interested in it. And it's basically where you just write articles for different newspapers and magazines and things like that. And I was kind of interested in just like getting my story out there. And then I really liked the course and how it was just kind of like, you could do it anytime you wanted, and it was always available. It was on demand. And I said, wait, like maybe I could make one of these and just put everything I've learned in an online course that's always there for somebody to take and hopefully help them, number one, gain the confidence to take time off,
Mm-hmm.
focusing on healthcare workers
Mm-hmm.
because of the stigmas that we feel in our field. And then also guide them on like the logistics of it, like how to negotiate a sabbatical versus do you want to resign? And then most people ask me how I budgeted for my sabbatical. So then
Yeah.
that turned into a whole module. And I kind of just used my experience on how I saved money and budgeted and put it into that module. So again, I'm not like obviously not a financial specialist or anything, but I'm just mentoring people on how I did it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's there and I made it and it launched last week and I have a few customers and it's been really good so far.
So okay, so it started in South Africa,
Yeah.
but then is that when you said, listen, I think I can make a course out of this? Or is it just that then it's because it kind of evolves, you go to Indonesia, you're like, listen, I think there's more to this than just an idea.
No, it was before Indonesia. So the idea was in my head in South Africa. Then couple months later, when I was in New Zealand, was when I really started putting together like my free guide that I made.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it was during that time of coming home and just kind of reflecting on the prior 6 months or whatever it was and talking to people at home and getting constant questions like, how did you do this? How do you have money? That was the number one question.
Yeah.
How are you
how do you
making
answer
money?
those
How do you have
questions?
money? Right. I mean, I would just answer them honestly. Like I just was really good at I became really good at saving money. And there's no like magic answer. Somebody recently said to me, saving money is boring, so people don't want to hear it.
A little bit.
But like they want like a quick, like, oh, how to make $10,000 in a month kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's kind of a boring answer. Like I just saved, I got good at saving money, and I have my tactics, and it worked for me. You know, when they would ask more questions, I was like, okay, I think I really need to get this course going, because
Yeah.
I have so many people asking me how I'm doing this, and I think I can help some people. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was New Zealand after I had gone home and chatted with a bunch of friends and family that I saw.
What are some lessons that you've learned in your travels that you didn't really expect?
Lessons I've learned that what kind of lessons? Let's see. Because I've learned a lot. So, okay, lessons about myself. I've
Mm,
learned that I like structure more than I thought.
mm,
When I'm kind of just like running around and doing, random things with my day, it can be very fun. But after a few weeks, I feel like I need to be like grounded somewhere. And I feel a lot better when I'm in like somewhat of a routine.
'kay.
So I think, as wonderful as this has been, and I'm getting to like see so much of the world, I am excited now to go back to having an actual job and like an actual structured day.
Mhm.
That's one thing I learned. The other aspect of the world that I learned is how messed up our healthcare system is in the US.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Like, the jaws that drop when I tell people how it works. And I've always known that it was, like, very money oriented, very,
Yeah.
like, much controlled by um, insurance companies. But when you talk to someone from another country who works in medicine, especially, and you tell them how, like, the things that we have to go through, like prior authorizations and peer to peers and appeals and all this stuff, they literally have no idea. Like, they don't even know how to respond to it, because they're like, this doesn't exist. What do you mean? We just, like,
We
the,
just
the
treat.
jaws are on the floor. It's crazy. Yeah.
Did you run into folks that were in healthcare during your travels?
A lot, yeah,
Yeah?
yeah. I know a few orthopedic surgeons in Spain, and they we had a lot of yeah, so the healthcare thing is a big one.
Oh, the healthcare. Alright, so you're running into people so you said you knew some orthopedic surgeons in Spain.
Yeah,
Like, do they when you explain it, like, "Okay, this is what has to happen here," and they're just like, "You guys are all nuts?"
sort of. I mean, I know a lot of them because they trained with my boss or at our hospital.
Mm,
So
okay.
they kind of know how things work to an extent, but they have a really cool take on work-life balance. So
Mm,
they're much better at it there. I don't know how that affects the system as a whole, but
yeah.
they are very good at like only scheduling the amount of surgeries that will get them out at 4 p.m. every day, and they go home, and like it's like this whole different mindset. But then, for instance, the people I'm house sitting for, she's a pediatrician in Australia here. And before they left, we were chatting about everything, and I was explaining how everything works, and she was just like, "What? Like, how do you practice? Like, how does the insurance company have so much say, and why isn't there a government insurance?" And in the US, we're so like anti universal healthcare. But one thing I will say is, after traveling to 10 11 countries, I've never thought I'd be so pro universal healthcare in my life. Like,
Okay.
or I would say a combined situation. Like, most of these countries where I feel like things run well is you have the option to have the free government system, but then you also have the option to pay into a private system.
Okay.
So I think that would be a great model for the US if we could ever get on it.
Now, do you miss orthopedics?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, for the first few months, I was just happy to be like free. But I definitely find myself like talking about it a lot. And I get really happy when I talk to people about orthopedics.
Yeah.
And as of now, my next move might be hopefully in orthopedic sales. That's kind of where I want to
Okay.
delve into if I don't go back to the US, because I can't really work as a PA anywhere else without having to like go through a lot of red tape. It's possible, but it's difficult.
If you came back to the US as a PA, do you have to do, like, a lot of CE or CMEs to get yourself back, or are you pretty
I'm
much.
doing them.
Oh, you're doing them.
I'm
Okay.
continuing them. Like, I'm actually recertifying now. I'm taking the exam.
Okay. Okay.
It's like a quarterly exam, and I've kept up with my CME credits and all of that. Yeah.
Okay. So that's not it. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next step is the States or not the States, or you saying orthopedic sales, some kind of back to Spain?
I don't know, it depends where we end up.
Okay.
We really have to decide where we're gonna live, or if I could get a remote role, that would be amazing.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
really I really love, joint replacements, and I like working with tools and stuff, so that stuff is all very familiar to me, and it would be, I think, a pretty seamless transition to be able to just go teach people how to use these tools, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. It
'Cause I
does.
have a lot of experience with it, and I like it, and yeah. So we just have to figure out where we're gonna land, and then I'll make my moves.
It sounds super exciting.
Yeah.
A question about when you were in the OR and had so many things going on between loving your job, but also getting burnt out and just trying to figure out, okay, what's the next step for you to be happy.
Mhm.
From a financial perspective, did you ever have someone that was like a wingman on the finance side, whether it was helping you pay your loans or save for retirement or say save money for the house, or did you do it all on your own?
My partner,
Yeah.
he literally was like, "What are you doing?" It was like some real tough love there. Like, so when we first started dating, okay, we should talk about my finance journey because it is
Yeah.
wild. Obviously, I came out with a bunch of student loan debt,
Hmm.
but I also racked up $20,000 of credit card debt because I did not listen to my father. And I just spent money like I had all this money. I don't know what I was thinking. I was going on vacations and shopping and like while I was in school. So
Hmm.
I racked up $20,000 of credit card debt. Met I met my partner about a year into working as a PA, and I still hadn't really like made a dent in that debt. And he was like, "Why are you spending all this money?" And nobody has ever like really talked to me like that about money. So I was like, "What do you mean?" And he kind of just laid it all out. And when you want to like make somebody proud, I guess you is maybe when you change. And we were like starting our relationship, and I was like, "Oh, I got to be better with money for this guy," and I really credit a lot of what I've learned to him, and just he's learned a lot from his clients along the way, and he's
Hmm.
just very very good with money in general. He's pretty frugal, and he trains some people, and they have been nice enough to like teach him, I guess, things along the
Hmm.
way, and he's taught himself. So yeah, that's kind of where it started.
Okay. Okay. So that's well, I mean, from him, he's a business owner in his own right, a
Yeah.
practice owner in his own right with his clients. So he's got to, you know,
Yeah.
kind of thrown into the fire on learning the finances, the business side too.
Yeah, and he's completely, like, I guess they say self-made, right? Like, he
Yeah.
didn't come from any money, and he really built this business to what it is, and he's pretty successful. So, yeah, it was a big, wake-up call that I definitely needed.
Yeah. Okay. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Where can people find more about you, your course?
So, I definitely post a lot on LinkedIn, just, search my name, and or I can link that, but I'm very active on TikTok mostly and Instagram. So on both of those, I have in my bio, I have my link to my course. You can read about it on the course website, and you could also get the free guide as well. I have those linked, but I basically just go through my social media channels for all of this,
Okay. And I'll
and
be
that.
posting all the links for all of your over socials on the website,
Oh,
on the
cool! Thank you.
podcast too. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, on Instagram, I'm the PA, and same with TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Okay, awesome. Leah, thank you so much for joining. Thank
Yeah,
you
thank
for
you.
sharing this story. This was an awesome conversation.
Yeah.
And I look forward to hearing what the next step is.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Sorry about the little missteps with my
Oh, we're all
camera.
good on the technology, especially from all halfway across the world.
I
All right,
know.
so
But yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's nice.
yep. Thank you for
Yeah.
everybody, and we'll see you for the next episode. And remember, the time to have the map is before you enter the woods. So let
Love it.
me stop there.